The government is preparing to announce its spending review next month, and it looks like all areas of public spending will be affected. So just how well placed is this region to cope with the cuts? Let's cross to Stuart now, who's in Corby.
Susie, good evening. Welcome to Corby. About 50,000 people live here. It's the fastest growing population in England and Wales, according to the figures in March of this year. Let me just show you a little bit about Corby. If you look over my shoulder down there, that building in the distance, the 70s building, is a college. There's a new college being built, so that's going to be pulled down. If we bring the camera around just a little bit, we can see that lots of work is going on here already. Could be a theatre built there where those porta cabins are. And if we come round just a bit further, a new swimming pool over there, international-sized swimming pool, and that's just been opened. And if we come round a bit further, we can see the new headquarters of the Borough Council. That's the Cube. Borough Council will be in there. We'll have a theatre in there, restaurants, function rooms. They can even hold weddings in there as well. So it's a lot of work going on here in Corby, but over the next 2 years, they have to bridge a shortfall of £3.5 million. Our first report tonight is from Andrew Sinclair.
At Cardinal Newman School in Luton, they were really looking forward to the start of the new term.
We were expecting that when we came back from the summer break that the builders would be here.
After 5 years of planning, the school was going to be upgraded, and it needs it. The building is looking old. There isn't a dining room. They have to clear the next door classroom at lunchtime. But the £23 million scheme is currently on hold. Cardinal Newman is a victim of coalition cuts.
You feel so helpless when you realise that so many people can have put all of that work in and then it can just be wiped away. We know that there's problems with the economy, but so much has been spent on this already that it just seems to be quite a wicked waste.
Cardinal Newman isn't alone. 83 other school rebuilding projects in the region are on hold.
To have a carrot dangling in front of your nose, to be told you can have a nice new building, nice new classroom, and to have that taken away with no notice at all, really, it's disgraceful.
We've only had a handful of cuts, but already families are looking closely at their budgets, like the Josephs in Cambridge. Sally Moll-Joseph is a nurse. Her pay will be frozen, so the family's plan to buy their shared ownership home is now on hold.
VAT is going to be increased soon, so we are going to pay for more for our food, clothes, whatever it is.
Anything that isn't considered essential is under threat. Parents in Munsley in Norfolk were promised £47,000 to improve their playgrounds. They've just had the money taken away from them.
We were given the money to do this project, but then it was taken away, and it kind of leaves you feel quite empty and quite forgotten as a community.
Just 3 examples of real pain caused by these cuts. The government says they're essential to bring borrowing under control. Critics say it's all happening too fast. Andrew Sinclair, BBC Look East.
Well, let's speak to Christopher Cook from the Business School at the University of Northampton. Were these cuts avoidable? Could they have been delayed?
It's a very good question. There's much political debate going on about it, of course. My own honest opinion is that unless the government had made immediate and substantial commitments to large and significant cuts as soon as they were elected, that I'm afraid the stock market would have crashed, the money markets would have got fed up with us and refused to grant us credit, and interest rates would have gone up significantly.
So but we heard there that people were promised schools and refurbishment of their schools. Could that not have been, we were told that the money was earmarked?
Earmarked is an interesting word. The expenditure was certainly promised, but where that money would have come from, I suspect, was not necessarily had not necessarily been addressed.
But you see, if we have people who are on the dole or people who are waiting to go to university and they can't get a job or they're made redundant, that money has got to come from somewhere still, hasn't it?
Well, you're absolutely right. And in one particular viewpoint, I have sympathy with that view, in that the government has put a cap on the number of UK and EU students that we can take into the university. And of course, what they're in effect saying is they'd rather pay dole to these students rather than have them educated at university. And I'm not sure...
So you're not sure that they need to make the cuts now?
Well, I'm not sure that is a cut. Paying out money in one form rather than another form isn't a cut.
Christopher Cook, thank you very much for being with us this evening. Now, of course, already some councils are taking action, and we're beginning to see across the region that some councils are beginning to outsource the services that they need.
Schools, roads and care for the elderly, all traditionally run by local councils, but for how much longer? Suffolk's become the latest to consider buying in services from outside suppliers. A trial started to outsource local libraries. Transport and social services could be next.
We believe that we've got to provide value for money in such a way that does defend workers' rights in new organisations and new methodologies. But if we can do that, if we can save a few bob, if we can keep council tax down, that's a very important priority in these difficult times.
Elderly care is another costly but vital service. In Norfolk, the council's looking at setting up a new company with their private arm, Norse. They aim to replace existing care homes with new, larger ones. But those representing private and voluntary care homes are uncomfortable.
It would make it by far the largest care provider organisation in the county, and it would have a potentially a very privileged position at a time when other people don't have that position. And so I think that the need for scrutiny is very clear.
Essex County Council has been the trailblazer, outsourcing many of its services. They hope to save £300 million over the next 3 years. Unions are fighting the plan, saying standards fall and jobs are lost. But it's likely more councils will follow. Louise Holmes, BBC Look East.
Well, let's talk to Chris Mallender, who's Chief Executive of Corby Borough Council. Outsourcing something that you would consider?
We'd consider it, but I think we'd discount it fairly quickly. The only way you're going to save money on outsourcing, in our view, is by cutting wages, cutting costs and doing the sorts of things that I don't think Corby as a borough council would want to do.
But you've got to save £3.5 million over the next couple of years. You're going to have to do that somehow.
Well, I mean, the first thing we're going to do is maximise the benefit of these fantastic facilities you see across from you. We've significantly increased income from the swimming pool. We've got a fantastic fitness scheme. So we are generating new income all the time, and we think the way to get through this recession is by continuing to invest, continuing to employ people and avoiding what we believe could be a dip back into recession.
So you are at odds with the national government?
Well, I wouldn't say we're at odds with the national government. I mean, we are here to represent Corby, and we think the interests of Corby people are best served by keeping investing, keeping employing people in construction, and not by putting them in the position of signing on at the job centre and kicking their heels doing nothing.
Something like this, the building behind us that you're going to move into very soon, couldn't have happened now, could it?
No, it wouldn't have happened now. I mean, this is it's a fantastic investment, but just over half of it is funded by central government, and effectively it's the dividend for Corby from being very positive about the growth agenda. So we are the fastest growing borough in the country. We're building houses faster than anybody else, and the quid pro quo at that time was that we would get investment to this magnitude, and it's just a fantastic reward for Corby.
So tell me, £3.5 million, one place you're going to save it. Is that going to be services or what?
Well, as I said, we've already generated significant extra income through the superb investments we've made.
But so people have got to keep on swimming, that's what you're saying?
Keep on swimming, even though there are no longer free swimming places.
Thank you very much for being with us. We'll be talking to the local MP later in the programme, but for now, the rest of the news where you live.